going to be hips. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff on the floor. Make sure you've got a block or something to adjust the height if you need it. But we are going to start with kind of an odd order of our normal morning cars, which is our, you guys know your controlled articular rotations. So let's stand. We're going to start with neck. We're going to do neck, spine, and then we're going to do hips before we get down on the floor. Okay. So taking the feet nice and wide, squeezing your quads, squeezing your abs just a little bit, hands down to the floor, squeeze your fists, drive your chin to your chest. Scrape that left collarbone. And as you tilt back, look at that left armpit, making sure we are staying out of any pinchy sensations. Scrape the chin up to the sky, looking back behind the right armpit, tilt forward, scrape underneath. Reverse, scrape that right collarbone, looking back behind that shoulder, scrape the chin across the sky, looking back behind the left armpit, tilt forward, find that collarbone and scrape one more time, bounce back to the left, over that left shoulder as long as there's no pinchy things, nice long neck, over the top, tilting forward, coming back to center. Okay, so from here, we're going to our spine. So you're gonna give yourself a nice hug. If you can, reach all the way to those shoulder blades. We're gonna slowly, one vertebrae at a time, start to flex forward. Feeling that pelvis kind of staying underneath us. So what it's gonna feel a little bit like is imagine a crunch. Like you're trying to bring your sternum to your pelvis, one vertebrae at a time. From here, I want you to bring those elbows across your body as far as you can. From there, squeeze into that left side, extending back, but staying to the left. As you bring it up over the top, we're going all the way across, flexing into that left side, come around to the front, and we're gonna reverse. Give me a little tension check here, and then we're coming back. Give yourself that nice big hug, making sure you're not losing tension as you go. One more time. Up over that top, nice long spine. And as you reverse, try to tune into segments of your spine that might be doing more work than other segments. What that feels like is you're gonna flex through one spot and you'll feel a focal point of stress. I want you to try to hold that spot steady as best you can. Whew. Okay, so from here, we're gonna use support, whether that's the wall, a pillar, or in our case, we've got dowels. We're gonna do our hip car.
You can use it.
So for that hip car, remember, we are taking that ankle, placing that foot across, and then we are going to externally rotate from the hip as much as we can, or bringing that inside seam out to face the camera or forward as much as you can. Start to bend the knee. And as you continue to drive that seam up over the top of your leg, come up into that hacky sack position. From there, you're gonna find a neutral position and bring the knee up higher. Make sure that that pelvis is not coming along with you, so go up even higher. Now, open up that gate, hold that height. Try to hold the height as you bring that ankle bone out towards the wall behind you and up towards the ceiling. It's a little uncomfortable as you go to the back corner. Make sure you're hitting that back corner. Bring the knees to meet. Knees come through. As you push that heel back, you're trying to feel that sensation as close to your butt crack as you can. Well, big shout out to Leslie on that cue. Slide that foot up the wall. As you bring the foot through, bring that height back. Imagine you're stepping over a stool in front of you. Try to hold that height as you externally rotate into that hacky sack position, stabbing the heel back across the body. And I'm getting warm now. Ready? We're bringing it up again. Find that height. Open that gate at that height. Internally rotate as far as you can. Make sure, though, that it's coming from right hip alone.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that.
And we're not doing the splits to accomplish it. Bring that foot back around. Stab that heel back across. Good. Go ahead and switch. Oh, that was my computer disconnected from Zoom. Go ahead, bring that leg across. Find that external rotation again. So bring that seam out, the instep of your foot, all of that stuff is facing forward. As you bend that knee and bring that hip up into flexion, find that right in front of your pelvis and bring it higher. As long as we're not feeling pinchy things on the front of that hip, open up, internally rotate, bringing that heel up to the ceiling, squeeze back behind you, find your glute, knee comes through, find that sensation right in the middle of your butt crack, all the way up, a little bit of hamstring, a little bit of hip, all the way around, making sure those pockets are staying square forward the whole time. One more time. Up. Find that neutral. Stand tall through that stance leg. Open up. Internally rotate. Find that really uncomfortable hip sensation. Stab that back. And reverse. All the way around. Beautiful. Shake that off. Okay, so from here, we're going to go down to seated position and we're going to do our knees. Let me make sure that Ross isn't standing at the door. So from here, we're going to go to our knee. So what we're trying to become intimately familiar with are the muscles on the inside of the knee, the things that help us stabilize and rotate the knee. So planting that heel into the floor, coming down with a little bit of pressure. So you're squeezing, trying to pull heel to butt. From there, you're going to squeeze this side stuff and externally rotate this bone as far as you can, bringing that leg across. If you've never done this before, or you're having trouble finding that sensation, plant two hands on either side of that calf, and you're actively trying to rotate that knee as best you can. We're spending some extra time on this because 90-90 isn't always the most comfortable position for a lot of people. And we want to make sure that sitting in that position is not going to bother your knee. So every time you go through this, trying to make sure that you're squeezing each end as far as you can. Good. Go ahead and switch. So weird. Try that again. Okay. Other side. Again, making sure. This probably feels weird if you've never done it before, and one knee will likely feel different than the other. So you're trying as hard as you can not to use your foot to accomplish this. And you're trying to just use those muscles inside of your knee to help it rotate. You might feel your hamstring squeezing a little bit, which is good. And then from here, we're going to finish with ankles. So pull that foot towards your chest, point the toe, that best dancer's point, bring it over to the side, so big toe side. Pull up into ankle dorsiflexion. So logo of your sock is facing your face as you bring it across. Drive pinky side down, big toe side, and up, pinky side, and down. One more time, and reverse. All the way around, nice crunchy ankles. Real crunchy today. Good, switch sides. Bomba socks? Oh man. No logo socks. Well, you can move the pink stripes. How are people going to know what brand your socks are? You could just be like Leslie and throw on whatever socks. Good. Okay, so we're going to do a lot of work in 90-90 today, which is this position here. So if this position is not super comfortable for you, that's totally fine. You're going to grab a block. You're going to slide it under your butt. I'd rather you be able to hang out with no negative sensations in the knees, not feeling like you're overusing your posture to get there, and feeling comfortable in the work that we're doing, rather than having to be stuck on the floor. If this still isn't comfortable, let's make adjustments. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to do some of our upper body cars while we're waiting for our hip internal rotation stretch to set in. So what we're looking for out of this stretch is the logo of our chest is facing, or as least as close to possible, that back knee. And we're in a nice deep hip internal rotation stretch. So that ankle bone is coming up towards the ceiling, right? From here, we're going to take both hands. We're going to give ourselves Barbie hands, so knife edge hands. Leslie, can you look at the camera? Is it okay? Okay. So from here, we're bringing the arms across our body as far as we can. Squeeze, scissor those hands together. From there, we're going to slowly bring bicep up to ear, making sure that you stop wherever the logical range of motion is for you, so that we're not doing a ton of spine. We're not doing some side bends, some fun neck stuff, anything that's not imperative. Biceps to ears. Now we're internally rotating both arms at the same time. So bringing the tops of the hands to face each other. Other way, tops of the hand. There you go. Now reaching back, imagine you've got a beach ball behind you and you are trying to squeeze that beach ball as hard as you can between your hands all the way until you meet pinkies on the floor, or index finger, whichever finger hits first. Now reach straight back again, find that beach ball. Hold that beach ball tight as you externally rotate. Now palms are facing out, backs of the hands are facing each other. All the way up until you feel thumbs facing behind you, biceps to ears. Cross those arms, scissor the hands across again. Reverse. Across. Up. Biceps to ears. Internally rotate. Palms are facing out. Backs of the hands are facing each other. There you go. All the way around. Make sure you're finding that beach ball. Whew. Everybody's still feeling a good stretch in that back hip? Beautiful. Liz, how is that feeling after that fun Graston? Sorry, I lost connection on the computer, so I can't see people right now. And I like to be able to see people. Okay, so as that's restarting, what we're going to try to do is start to increase that pressure into the ground. Dad, I know you were only here for one side last week, so if you want to go to the side you didn't do to start, you can absolutely do that.
Okay, so
if your left or your right leg was forward last time, bring your left leg forward, or behind you, sorry.
yeah.
Is that the right one? Okay. So we're going to start to increase pressure into the floor. So what that means is I want you to slide your hand under your ankle if you can. I want you to slowly try to bicep curl your hand, or your foot. What shouldn't happen though is that the arm wins. What should happen is that as you start to try to bicep curl harder, you are squeezing all of those muscles that you're feeling that stretch in and increasing that pressure from 20% to 40, 40% to 60, 60% to 80. Greatest, safest effort, smashing that leg down into the floor. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now try to lift that ankle. What shouldn't happen is that you actually pull it all the way off the ground. If your ankle comes off the ground, I want you to sit deeper into that stretch while you squeeze right at that pocket. Holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. Everybody feel that? That was tons of fun. Anybody cramp? A little bit. Okay, small cramps. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna focus on this front leg. So what I want you to try to do, if you can, if you plant both hands on the ground, I want you to try to pick that leg off the ground. If you can, fantastic. If not, no worries at all. Okay. The whole goal of this is that you find the front side hip stuff. So you find the stuff in the hip crease trying to bring ankle bone to chin, right? As long as you're able to feel that, we're going to use that same tissue to pull ourselves deep into the front side hip. What I don't want to see is people falling over their legs. The goal of this is to maintain tension in your body, trying to deadlift your leg off the ground. What's ultimately happening is that your torso is being pulled to your shin. From there, pushing shin into floor and bringing that torso back up to this position. However, none of these positions are rested. So we are holding tension. We are continuing to push into the floor, even at our top. We're going to take 5 seconds to go down, 5 seconds to come back up. Okay, we're going to plant hands on the floor to start. Big deep breath. Trap some of that air in your core. Radiate the tension through your body. So squeeze everything. Start to pick that front leg off the ground. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Whew. Feel some front side hip stuff? We're actually gonna do another set of Pales rails here on that back leg. Hopefully that'll help calm down for everything else we're gonna do, because there's a lot of fun back hip stuff coming after this. So from here, we're doing another set of Pales rails, which is pushing down into the floor. So I want you to make that ankle bone as heavy as you can. 20%, squeezing knee into floor. So we're squeezing all of the stuff that we feel the stretch in, squeezing as hard as we can, pushing into the floor all the way up to your greatest, safest effort. You are ripping the floor apart between your hands, squeezing tension through your shoulders, through your chest, through your abs. Your legs are allergic to each other, so you're pressing the other leg into the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ankle bone comes up. Squeeze the pocket stuff. Pull yourself deeper into that stretch. So as you can see, my chest is starting to go towards that knee. Ultimately, whatever that looks like for you, I want you pulling yourself as deep into that stretch as you can. 3, 2, 1. Relax. So before we get into all of the fun of actually lifting that back leg off the ground, we're going to do a set of Pales rails on the front leg. So wherever you found that end range stretch in the end of our kinetic stretching was the idea of pulling yourself as deep as possible. Pull yourself into that nice, deep hip stretch. What I want is a lot of stuff on the back side of the hip, nothing on the front side of the hip. Okay? So from here, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to start to push it to the floor. 20% to 40, 40% to 60, 60% to 80, pushing down through knee, through ankle. Imagine I'm there, I'm sneaking over and I'm trying to pull your foot off the ground. Can you push harder? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pull. Find that front side hip stuff. Try to pull shin to face, pulling the tailbone back in the process so we're not just folding forward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. So Liz, if it's still too much on that back hip, shift your weight forward here. Good. It's about to get worse, I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, so now that we're in this nice forward folded position and you have access to this and your body's not screaming being in this position, you are now going to try to lift your whole back leg off the ground. So that's knee, that is shin, that is all of the entire back leg. So as much of a running start as you need to lean forward while you do this, because you should, if we're all the way back here, there's no way the leg's gonna come off the ground, right? You can try as hard as you want. That back leg is not going anywhere. What I want you to do is just enough of a running start that you could lift the whole back leg just enough for me to slide my hand under it. Ready? We're gonna do this 5 times with a 5-second hold. Big deep breath. Radiate tension through our body. The rest of our body is now a statue and lift. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. We want to parachute down as best we can. Big deep breath. Trap that air. Radiate that tension and lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. Make sure it's not just internal rotation. I want knee. So if ankle doesn't come off the ground, that's fine. I want knee. Big deep breath. Trap that air. Radiate that tension. Up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. Last one. Up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is just ankle. And we're going to do this 10 1-second holds. So again, you're going to still be in this running start and ankle bone is just coming up. Ready? We're still trapping our air. We're still radiating tension. The rest of our body is a statue. If you need to change positions a little bit, that's totally fine. But what happens is I don't want to see a change in position while you're trying to do it. I want you to be a statue. Ready? Big deep breath. Trap that air, radiate that tension, and lift the ankle. 1, down, up, 2, down, up, 3, down, up, 4, down, up, 5, down, up, 6, down, up, 7, down, up, 8, squeeze, down, try to get a little bit more, up, 9, down, up, 10, and down. We are going to pair the two of those with a little bit of external rotation to hover the heel all the way around to try to meet our front leg and bring it all the way back. What that's going to look like is this. All the way through, doesn't actually have to meet, hovering as we go back to that back leg. What we want to try to do on the way back is land knee and then ankle. Okay. Let me tilt the camera down so you can see. Oh my gosh, my hips already. Feeling all kinds of fun feelings. Okay. So staying in that same running start position. Because again, the goal is to do this as rigid as possible. If you need an extra challenge, you can bring it to something like this, which is really, truly awful. Fully recommend keeping your hands on the ground. Ready? Big deep breath. Trap that air. Radiate that tension, ankle bone up, knee up. Lift the whole hip as far through as you possibly can. Holding that heel off the ground if possible, keep pulling. If not, all the way around to that back knee and ankle land. Again, block is totally recommended if you need more space to give you a running start and actually help you clear the ground and express hip in the best way possible. I want it to be challenging, but I don't need each rep to be a 1 rep max because then you're never going to be successful. I want you to be successful in expressing that hip. Ready? Again, trap that air, radiate that tension, lift ankle bone, lift knee, all the way through. Hover that heel off the ground. All the way back, plant knee, plant ankle, and down. One more time. Knee, ankle bone up, knee up. All the way through. Hover that leg. Lift, plant knee, plant ankle, and relax. Yes, that's a lot of work on one leg. Okay, before we switch to the other side, we're gonna get one more fun training rep to get from one side to the other. And of course, when I say fun, this is my definition of fun. Okay, so wherever your foot needs to be in order to accomplish this, totally fine. I want it to be relatively comfortable. So you're gonna lean back. From here, we're gonna start to peel right knee off the ground. Go ahead, start to peel that right knee off the ground. Staying as rigid as you can, slowly keeping those knees as wide as possible. Let the right knee start to win as it pulls the left knee off the ground. Keeping those legs as far away from each other as possible. We're transitioning now to 90-90 on the other side. I'm gonna adjust my position so make sure you guys can see. Oh man. Now we get to repeat all of that fun stuff that we just did on the other side, on this side. So again, each hip might be different and it's totally fine. Sorry, if your left hip is giving you any trouble, just let me know. We can make adjustments. I don't want it to be pinchy or get that jamming sensation, okay? So everything should be a nice big stretch. There shouldn't be any point where you feel like you've run out of room, okay? So we did our shoulders in the last position. We are gonna do elbows. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna give a double gun salute, which is this guy. I want you to punch those elbows up and drive those elbows as wide as you possibly can. From here, we're gonna bring our palms up to face the sky. We're gonna drive those hands out as far as we possibly can. So what I wanna see now is I want you to externally rotate. So palms, elbow pits, armpits, everything's trying to face the sky. Nothing's gonna change except from the elbow down. From here, I want you to start to bend your elbow like you're doing a 300-pound bicep curl. Don't let the elbows drop. You are trying to bring pinkies to touch the sides of your head. So it's almost like you're trying to bring your palms to face behind you, right? Weird. From there, squeeze your biceps as hard as you can, spin from the elbows to now palms are facing forward. Squeeze your triceps, the backs of your arms as you drive the elbows out to the side. Spin that palm open again. Bicep curl in, squeeze. Keep trying to pull pinkies to the sides of your head, like you could scratch the back of your head with your pinkies. That's supination, right? We're gonna reverse, drive the backs of the hands out to the walls to the side. We're gonna pronate, making sure that's from the elbows alone, so we're not internally rotating shoulders. Armpits are still facing the ceiling. Pulling backs of our hands towards our head. Supinate, so now palms are facing out. All the way out and down. Oh my God, my arms have never felt heavier. All the while, we've been stretching that back leg. It's a nice little distraction. Whenever I do stuff like that, I think of Major Pain, which I don't know how many people have seen that movie, but it's always, you want me to do something to take your mind off that pain? You found your label? It's on the bottom of your foot. Who would have thought to look at the bottom of a sock? Okay, you guys know what to do. We're going to start to increase pressure into that back leg. Ankle bone is going down, knee is going down. If you need the hand under there to create that extra pressure, I love it. I love that, taking it like 5% more by trying to bicep curl my own leg. Ready? 20% to 40, 40% to 60, 60% to 80. And your greatest, safest effort, squeezing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ankle bone up, squeeze. Try to get it so that you can slide that hand underneath, but remember, don't use your toes, use your hip right here. Try to make that hip cramp. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. So if you cramp, and I didn't address this at the very beginning, it's not the same as a potassium cramp. It's not the same as like a dehydration cramp. The idea is that your nervous system is trying to figure out what you're asking it to do, and it's likely never done that before. So all it's doing is sending signals to that muscle, and the muscle's like freaking out, trying to figure out what you're doing to it. It's not a bad thing. It's just not comfortable. Okay. So from here, we're doing our kinetic stretching into our front leg, right? So we're going to square up our chest with that front shin. We're going to find that front side hip stuff, trying to lift that leg off the ground. Okay. Once you've got that, now we're pulling. Remember, it's 5 seconds down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push. Squeeze where you feel that stretch and drive yourself back out. 2, 1. Pull. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you reach the bottom, pull. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Before I've counted all the way down, keep pulling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Okay. Back leg. More fun. Make sure we've established that nice big stretch. It might even be bigger than it was before. Knee okay, Leslie? Okay. Starting to increase that pressure, 20 to 40 to 60 and 80. And your greatest, safest effort. Safest is the operative word. If you had to stop at 40, you're still pushing. It just means you're holding at 40% for a longer period of time. And that's totally great. That is fantastic. You're getting really good work in a safe intensity for you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift. Ankle bone is up. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. Yep. Yep. Oh. Okay. Now the fun begins. Star, everything all right? Okay. You're on mute, so I can't hear you. Okay. Let's see. I got your question here.
I didn't want to talk during the class, so I was just typing a message.
No worries. You're absolutely welcome. I want you to feel like you're participating as if you're here too, although I'm the only one who can hear you.
So I was just saying, like, when doing this part, the lifting the ankle, I feel it a lot in my glute here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. So it's the front pocket stuff and then into the side of the hip, that glute min. And all you're trying to do is drive more internal rotation. So the ankle lifting off the ground means that you've accomplished more. You've increased your passive range of motion and actually increased your ability to exert force there. So now, as you've actually won over gravity, you sit back even deeper into that and you can work even harder at your new end range.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that insane crampy sensation is exactly what it should feel like.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Everybody ready for the fun stuff? Great. Okay, so remember, the goal is whole leg. Totally fine if you only get knee, right? But I want you to feel successful in lifting that leg. So if you need a bigger running start, get that block underneath you and make sure that you can get the whole leg off the ground. There's nothing wrong with modifying the position a little bit to get more work done better. Okay, so before we rotate, we just want to lift. Ready? So we're leaning forward into that running start. Big deep breath, statue, radiate that tension and lift the whole leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. Whole leg up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plant it down slowly. Up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. One more. Up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. So now we're going for that ankle. What we want to avoid is that the knee is coming forward with each rep, right? We want to still be at that end range. Just because we've given ourselves a running start for rotation, we don't want to lose that internally rotated hip abducted position, which is knee as far from the midline as we can take it. Ready? Big deep breath. Body is a statue. Ankle bone lifts. Up. 1, down. Up. 2, down. Up. 3, hold, down. Squeeze for a little bit more every time. Up, down. That's 7, up. Actually, that was 4, sorry. As long as somebody's counting. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Last one. Up, squeeze, 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 and down. Okay, now the fun of that hover. And if it still feels uncomfortable, if it's too much of a stretch to get that leg underneath, you can absolutely do this on a chair, on the couch. You just have to adjust your position so that it's still a challenge. So if you're sitting up higher in a chair or on the couch, that's totally fine if you were going to practice this, as long as you're still getting really good work. Okay. So statue, find wherever you're going to be doing that work from. Big deep breath, ankle bone up, knee up, lift that leg, sweep it through. Don't let the heel touch. Now start to internally rotate, bring it back, plant knee, plant ankle. Ankle bone comes up, knee up, all the way through. Drive that ankle back, plant knee, plant ankle. 2 more. Ankle bone up, knee up, all the way through, and all the way back. Knee down, ankle down. Last one. Ankle bone up, knee up, all the way through, all the way back. Plant knee, plant ankle. Beautiful. So give yourself a second to relax into that position. Oh my God, my legs have never felt heavier. Just got a message. Okay, no worries. He missed his alarm. I just wanted to make sure he wasn't like standing outside. It's not exactly warm right now. Okay, so we're gonna do our big wide opening position again. However, we're not gonna let right leg lift off the ground this time, okay? So leaning back, giving yourself enough space. So we're a big wide open 90 right now.
Like this?
No,
Yep.
one event.
So that is where we are going to end up, Dad. So you're ahead of the game. So we're going to start to externally rotate, right? Try to drive right knee into the floor. Squish a towel, a book, a block, an imaginary friend under your knee. All the way wide open, as wide as you can. We're going to end in a bear sit position. which is right here. If you need a back support, totally put your back up against something. Use the couch. So we are in a wide open, and if this is really hard to stay in, if this is uncomfortable, you can always go butterfly. Butterfly works totally fine, but this is where we want to be. We want to be as tall as we can. Use those arms as bridge cables to stay up into this position. So from here, we are going to do a cat-cow. And what we're going to try to do is get as much flexion. I'm going to spin so you guys can see as much flexion as we possibly can out of our spine and spine alone, using those abs to pull ourselves deeper, and then waistband pulls first, up through the low back, up through the mid back, all the way to our upper back until our chest is facing the ceiling. Notice I'm not just cranking my head back. I've pulled myself into like an exceptionally tall posture. Think finishing school, right? So from here, we're starting at the waistband again, and we're pulling our pelvis underneath us. One by one, flexing that vertebrae, trying to bring our rib cage to touch the front of our pelvis. Doesn't actually have to do that, but you're trying to get as much flexion as you can. Holding those shoulder blades steady with those legs. Ready? Pull tailbone. Remember, this is your biggest pain-free range of motion. So if anything is uncomfortable, I want you to stop where that is, try to go around that spot. And if you can't, that's fine. That just means that's where we are right now. Ready? One more time. Find those abs. Pull that pelvis up to your rib cage all the way till you're in that nice flex spine position. All the way back up to that tall, over accentuated posture, finding those postural muscles. Okay, so in this position, now that you've found some fun pelvic tilting positions, you've also undoubtedly found a stretch through this area. I want you to find that stretch. So if you can drive knees into elbows to get a really nice deep stretch, you can absolutely do that, as long as it doesn't feel pinchy, as long as it doesn't feel like any weird negative sensations. Again, if you need to adjust, block. Because I want those knees to go as wide as you can get them. Okay. From here, what we're going to do is it's a little bit different than pails and rails. And the biggest difference is that we are not hanging out in this stretch for a full 2 minutes. We are going to work on expressing strength through from our end range, which is where you felt that stretch, to a little bit more of a relaxed position. We're going to start in the relaxed position. We're going to work our way out. Knee okay? Okay. So bringing those knees up a little bit closer to your chest, right? Kind of butterflying in. Hands on the ankles if you can get it. If not, I want you here. Okay? So bring your knees in a little bit more, Liz. A little bit more. There. So like you can actually touch them with your elbows. Okay? So from here, you're going to start to squeeze 20% to 40 to 60 to 80. Notice we're not at our end range. 9, 8, 7, 6. You're trying to bring knees into your elbows. So like this, you're trying to do that, but your elbows are not letting that happen.
Okay.
Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So from here, relax for just a second, stay in that position. We're bringing our arms under our legs. We are going to try to bicep curl our legs together. So if our arms could win, they would do this. We're not going to let our arms win. We're going to find that outside of our hip stuff. We're going to fight our knees out while our arms pull in. Ready? This is trying to get to your greatest, safest effort as quickly as you can. Squeeze out, fight out, bicep curl in. 5, 4, 3. Don't let the legs win either, Liz. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Go out just a little bit further. Imagine you've accomplished a huge drastic increase in the range of motion and go halfway. Okay? We're going to try to do that same thing again. We're going to try to bring our knees towards each other. Our elbows are fighting. We're just a little bit further along that range of motion as we go. Ready? Start to push knees into elbows, elbows into knees. Squeezing those inner thighs. 20 to 40 to 60 to 80. And your greatest, safest effort. Squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Bicep curl those legs. Remember, they're not all the way up here, but they're not all the way down. We want them to stay right where they are. Ready? Start to fight out. Arms are fighting in, legs are fighting out. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly start to relax. Now we're going to the end of the end range, okay? We're gonna start to fight in.
Where are you? Where are you holding your ankles?
So I'm holding my ankles to try to stay up really nice and tall. Ultimately, all I really need is the idea that you are driving those knees down towards the floor. So if it helps, you can be here too. Try the butterfly position. Drive those knees as wide as you can. And then when you squeeze the inner thigh stuff, trying to bring the knees together, we're not going to let the legs win.
So
okay?
Try to bring the knees together.
So our arms are heavy, our arms are pushing down.
You have to try to keep the knees from coming together.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to keep the knees from collapsing towards each other because you're squeezing all of this stuff in its fully lengthened position. So if you need to be butterfly, butterfly is great. If you want to be in bear, you can be in bear. That's totally fine. Whatever feels like you can get the best work done on these inner thighs. Ready? We're going to increase pressure again. We're trying to collapse our knees towards each other. Our elbows will not let that happen.
Is it calf pulling?
You can, as long as your feet are in a comfortable position, you don't need to be like pulling toes towards shins, and I don't need you pushing. Okay. Whatever feels comfortable for your foot.
Okay. But your arms are.
Why don't you scoot back to the couch so that you've got a back support. So that way your arms aren't trying to hold you up and hold your legs. So now take that nice wide stretch. Now try to squeeze the legs together. Better?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. For everybody who's already been squeezing, relax for just a second. We're gonna keep going. If you can keep going, keep going. Let's get some more work in here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Arms under the legs. Bicep curl those legs together and squeeze the outside hips. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Oh, that's a lot of hip.
It is.
It's a lot of hip in a lot of strange positions, in a lot of places that you've likely never felt sore before.
Yeah, right.
You will feel uniquely sore deep in that hip capsule. Okay, so from here, we're gonna do one seated breathing exercise. So what I want you to do, if you've got a backrest, again, this is a good time to back your back up to the wall a little bit. What I want you to do, Liz, you actually just did something very similar to this yesterday. You can use your block between the knees with a gentle bend. We're gonna slide our hands down our legs into a flexed spine position. From here, we're gonna hold that flexed spine position, reaching our shoulder blades forward, like you're trying to reach your hands towards your ankles. From here, you're gonna breathe in through your nose and you're gonna try to inflate your upper back. We're purposefully closing down the front end to drive air up into our lungs. Ready? Big breath in through your nose. Exhale fully. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. Exhale fully. 2, 3, 4, 5. On this next inhale, I want you to breathe in silently.
Still a big breath. Still inflating your lungs as much as you can. Still reaching those shoulder blades. Exhale. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. Hold. And exhale. Holy, all that air out. Squeeze your belly button to your back. 2, 3, 4, 5. Big inhale. And relax. So what we're doing with that, and this is a little bit more of an advanced position. We can do this standing, and it probably is maybe a little bit easier. But what we're trying to do is expand the upper lobes of our lungs and cause our ribs, I know it sounds weird, but to externally rotate. So all of those spots where those ribs anchor on our spine, they often don't move as well as they're supposed to. And one really, really good way to stretch that is to get into a flex spine position, which again, a lot of people don't actually have access to. Breathing into those upper lungs, expanding the backside of our rib cage and allowing those ribs to rotate as they should. It usually helps with shoulder mobility a ton, just because things are gliding a little bit more. Yes, you like that one? Okay. Okay. From here, just get comfortable. You can lay on your back, you can lay on your stomach, you can lay on your side, whatever feels comfortable for you in a resting position. We're going to finish with just a little bit of box breathing. So if you've been to class before, you know it's 5 seconds in, 5-second hold, 5 seconds out, 5-second hold. We want to try to do this in a relaxed manner. I'm not going to have you do any breath direction necessarily. I just want you to breathe in a relaxed manner and make sure that you're getting the best of those breath holds. Ready? So breath in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep that tempo going. Relax into that as much as you can. Let that tension, we built a ton of tension throughout class. And what we want to try to do is dispel some of that now. We're just letting those muscles start to relax. You will inevitably be uniquely sore in some of the things that we did. You probably will feel your back a little bit. You'll probably feel your obliques, and you will likely feel some very deep hip capsule soreness. The best thing you can do is move. I know it's going to feel like that's the last thing you want to do, but you have to try to move. You have to try to keep getting blood flow to that area. Doing your hip cars, doing cat cows, doing your spine cars. Honestly, if you could go through your cars every day, one time through 3 reps, your body will feel different, significantly different, especially after 6 weeks of doing that every day. It takes about 6.5 minutes to go neck, spine, shoulder blade, shoulder, elbows, wrists, hips, knees, ankles, and toes, which we didn't cover today. But it's honestly the smallest investment for such a huge payoff. If you're feeling really, really, really sore, I know this sounds like the last thing you want to do, but get back into some of those stretches that we did. Hold for the full 2 minutes, like relax into that stretch, and then do very light tails, which is that first contraction, squeezing where you feel that stretch. And when I say light, I mean, we went 20 to potentially your greatest safest effort being 80, 90, 100% effort. I want you at 5. Squeeze that 5% for 20 seconds, relax into the stretch again. And then you can do that same thing a couple times, multiple times throughout your day, and you will slowly start to see that soreness dissipate. But the worst thing you can do now is go sit on the couch, because ultimately you're going to feel unbelievably sore afterwards. Thank you so much for coming. If you're interested in coming again, please register as far in advance as possible, just so that I'd have a good, accurate head count. If you come in person, I bring coffee from Dark Matter. If you come virtually, I fully encourage you to drink your beverage of choice during class. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you all. If you have any questions, you could always ask. Feel good? Awesome. Have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday.